Got in there before dark, and as soon as it starts to daybreak a little bit, I see a beast of a deer. I'm like, man, I ain't been here 5 minutes, and I've already seen a big buck. Well, he didn't really come close, and it really wasn't. I mean, we couldn't judge him enough to see if he was a shot, because on this place, it's like when you shoot one, you got to pay a trophy fee. And the people I went with is like, I had $5,000, I could play with. And that's a pretty good buck.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to screw up no $10,000. So, but I went to Texas, and that was my first trip hunting in Texas, and it lived up to its name, man. We had so much fun. It was, it was a high fence. It was like a private high fence. It's not like a commercial ranch.
Yeah.
So the guy that owned it, I think it was like, I don't know how many acres. I think they said like 4,500, something like that, high fence. And it was like mountains. I mean, we were like 2 hours other side of San Antonio, and I had never been in terrain like that. Everything had a thorn. You wasn't walking through it. It was all rocks and, up and down, big hill. They call it hill country, but to me it's mountains. I wouldn't want to just have to climb one, But we rode around. They would take you to your stand in these Toyota trucks. They had Tacomas, and they had them outfitted up like you was on African safari. Had the thing across the bed. They had like 2 boat seats. You could sit up in the back. Had a gun rest on top. And I didn't ride around shoot anything. They had some side by sides, but they didn't like running them. I don't know if it's just because of the weather, because it was nasty there too. There was a week here that it kind of rained, and
every picture you sent, it looked like just a heavy, dense fog and wet.
It was. It made visibility was tough. Like, there was only a few times I hunted where I could actually see the mountains, because when I could, it was cool. You saw all kinds of animals like walking the trails up on the sides of them. But the way they do it there's no, like, I don't know what the deer would look like if they depended on the natural vegetation. They would be the scrawniest little runt deer. So they protein feed year round. They run these big protein feeders, and I don't know how many they had on the place. I think there was about 8 stands that I saw that all had a protein feeder. And then I guess in early October, they bring out the corn feeders to go with that. And so I guess the corn feeders just draw stuff in, because you would hunt in a blind, within eyesight of a feeder. And I've never really hunted over bait like that. I mean, a little bit in Mississippi when we could, but I've never just where the animals know that it's going off 2 times in the morning, 2 times in the afternoon. So as long as you're sitting down, something's coming.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is. There wasn't no guarantees that we were going to see anything, but I shot like the first morning. As soon as we got there on a Sunday. You get up 5:15. Get out in the stand, while it's still dark, they drop you off. You got a guide with you. And
he sits with you the whole time?
Sits with you the whole time. And they're kind of judging. They want to make sure you're shooting. You can shoot. Well, first he says that the people that have been to this place, he said, most of the time they're not really good shots. So I didn't feel too bad if I missed or anything. I was like, well, I ain't the best shot either. But I'm decent, And so I didn't take a gun. I used his gun. He had a bad gun, man. It was like a suppressed, fierce 300 Win Mag with the Night Force scope. I mean, it was rigged. It was rigged out,
So none of y'all carried guns, or they all supplied?
Jeff took his, but they flew in their own. Their own plane. I flew commercial, so I didn't want to check the gun. Yeah. I figured. I mean, I ain't got anything super fancy anyway. Like my gun, in the third of the cost of what that dude's gun was. I think that gun's probably like $4,000.
Yeah.
Just the rifle, the scope on it's a couple grand. I don't know what a suppressor costs, but I imagine
another grand.
Yeah. He got some money tied up in his. But we sat down, and we got in there before dark. And as soon as it starts to daybreak a little bit, I see a beast of a deer. I'm like, man, I ain't been here 5 minutes, and I've already seen a big buck. Well, he didn't really come close, and it really wasn't. I mean, we couldn't judge him enough to see if he was a shot, because on this place, it's like when you shoot one, you got to pay a trophy fee. And the people I went with is like, I had $5,000, I could play with. And that's a pretty good buck.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to screw up no $10,000. So, but I didn't see anything that big. I mean, the deer, I did shoot one whitetail that was 153 inches. And that's the biggest deer I've ever shot in my life. I've never shot.
Good deer.
Oh yeah, it's a big deer. He's a nice deer. And I also got to shoot a trophy fallow deer. It's a fallow buck. It was a chocolate fallow, and they've been hunting this buck for 3 years. That's how, low pressure it is. Like, they've had people that have been wanting to kill him and come back and they've never seen him. They knew he was there, and he would come. Like they say, those fallow deer don't like to go to the feeders. They mainly stay up in the mountains. So to kill them, you got to kind of go up. Well, when I was sitting there, I guess it was the second evening, we saw something coming, and the guy was like, "Man, I think that's a fallow buck we've been looking for." And sure enough, he broke out through some of these mesquite trees and come out. But as soon as he got in the eyesight of the blind, I don't know if he could see us or what, before we could get the gun out the windows, I was going to shoot him. It was awesome.
Yeah.
He broke out, and I was like, well, and the guy's like, well, we can come back here tomorrow, but there ain't no guarantee that buck's going to come back, because that's the first time that he's actually seen him in a stand. They've seen him riding around and stuff. And so we went back the next morning, and dadgum, if that buck didn't come out again, and I saw him coming, so I had time to get the gun out the window and wait on him. And he didn't go to the feeder. He was just kind of moving through some of the scrub, and I put a good shot on him, stopped